they flew biplanes that had canvas wings and were open cockpits, and you sat one behind the other. And he was an observer on that. That was his job. And then when World War II came, he immediately went into the Army Air Force. There was no separate Air Force then. It was the Army Air Force. And he was involved in various things in the war. And he came back. He became the general manager of radio station KSD, which also then became a TV station. TV came in then. And he left that position and went to New York City and built and was the general manager of a station called WPIX, which still is around. So is KSD. And then he was involved with the Dumont Television Network. That's a name you've never heard before, because they went out of business finally. And they were bought up by ABC. And he was, they called the Station Relations Director, Vice President of ABC. And his job was to keep the network of all the individual stations around the country together. There was great competition between the three networks, CBS, NBC, and ABC, for stations. And they were all trying to build their station network. So he was well known in the television industry. Unfortunately, he had several girlfriends while he was married. That was one of the reasons that they were divorced. He married his third wife. And I should mention this in his, unfortunately, he had several girlfriends while he was married. That was one of the reasons that they were divorced. He married his third wife. And I should mention this in his honor, I'll say. She was mentally ill. He resolved he would not dump her the way he had two previous wives. And he stuck with her through thick or thin, even though she became almost unmanageable. And he found Christ, he found Jesus. And I should say, he grew up in a family that was very strongly religious, to the point that he hated religion until he met her, and he got involved with the Episcopal Church, which is another church of today. I don't know if you've heard of the Episcopal Church or not. Mm-hmm. It's a church that's very close to the Catholic Church. Your mother was a Roman Catholic, and found religion, found Christ. And it really girded him up through these dark years when he had a wife who was mentally ill. And they never had any children, but it was a very tough life for him. So I have lots of respect for what he became before he died. What's the next question? How many have we done?
7.
7? Let's do one more and then probably quit for the night, because that's a good bit for you to digest right there. What's number 8?
What was most important to him, your dad?
What was most important to my dad? As a child, it was his life outside of marriage, unfortunately, when I was a child. And I was not aware of that the first part of my childhood, and then as I got into teen years, I was very much aware of it. And so I'd say he was a very selfish man then, and he was only interested in his own life, and that happened to be outside of marriage. I should mention that his mother, while they were still married, his mother became severely ill with cancer. And she was also a member of a church called Christian Scientists. And they did not believe in doctors. You could not go to a doctor if you were a Christian Scientist then. And I don't know whether that would have made life easier for them, but my mother cared for them through the last years of her life in the house. I don't remember, but my brother said there was a terrible smell in the house from her cancer. My older brother, who since died. And that may have had an effect on my father and mother's marriage too, because of the strain of having her live with them. And then, as I said, his interest later branched out to he was trying to be a servant to others. It's a total flip-flop of his personality. Flip over. Any other questions there on those? And we can leave the rest of them, or do you want to go on a little bit further? Or?
We could probably end it here for now.
Okay. I'm very honored to have you do this. I thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm really honored.